Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about the Orlando Magic and what they did this offseason, recapping what the Magic are doing and what the future seems to be. So, if you're an Orlando Magic fan, comment down below and let me hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? In a few weeks, we will be doing the season preview, but we'll get right into today's video, talk about what they did, and I want to hear your thoughts. So far with the Magic, I think they are a team that they're taking the steps. They're with an organization that I think is being ran really well. Their books looks great. They've done a good job. Even with this Jonathan Isaac renegotiation and extension, solid deal. The Kentavious Caldwell-Pope deal, solid deal. And likewise, Goga Bitadze bringing in a really good backup, solid rebounding guy. Franz Wagner extension was smart. Mo Wagner, they brought him back. Gary Harris, continuity was a big thing, and the big signing was obviously the KCP 3-year, $66 million. He's probably one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He's played 96% of his possible games since 2013 to 14. He's never missed more than 4 consecutive games, and by re-signing Bitadze, Harris, the Wagner brothers, and controlling Isaac, I think the continuity is big. They really like this core, and now they're shifting to Jalen Suggs, who's the quarterback of this team, and this team was ranked top 10 in defensive estimated plus minus. And Suggs is extension eligible starting October 21st. He's eighth in steals, ranked in the top 10 in defensive and estimated plus minus. And he shot a career high 47% from the field and 39% from 3 this year, taking the steps that we needed him to take this year after, we could say, so first 2 seasons. Yeah, we lost in the first round, but I think this team has taken the steps that were required. Yeah, 13 point per game scorer in Jalen Suggs. Our 6th man is Cole Anthony, which I think Cole's is pretty solid. Now, before we continue, I just want to talk about, and I put the highlights, I want to talk real quickly. I think the guys who are trade guys to watch are Cole Anthony and Wendell Carter. Maybe Jalen Suggs or Anthony Black. Would Anthony Black eventually replace Suggs? I don't know. Somebody tell me, what's the purpose of Black on this roster? Maybe Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter are the 2 guys that I really think are our only trade potential guys. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. But I think the whole thing here is trying to figure out what we have. Like in the playoffs, Jalen Suggs was a 15 point per game scorer. Post All-Star break, he was a 13 point per game scorer and like shooting 53% from the field. And we have Wendell Carter with what I just really think Cole Anthony and Wendell Carter could be the 2 guys odd man out, and combining their salaries, it's like $24 million. So for me, when you look at this core, Paulo looks like he can be a 1. I love Franz Wagner, and I think Franz Wagner is a great player, and he was one of the best players in the Olympics. But do you guys believe he's a true 2, or do you guys think he's more of a 3? I think he would be more efficient and more valuable as a 3, but the jury's still out if he is a 2. But I could also see them being like, all right, at one point, maybe he isn't. I like bringing in Gary Harris. I like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope because we assume Paulo, Wagner, Suggs are going to be our 3 top scorers. Then it's going to be probably Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Then you'd assume Cole Anthony, and I would go, this is where it starts to get a little difficult because you're thinking, all right, probably, Cole Anthony. Maybe then it's Mo Wagner. You still have Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, who I'm not going to say either of those guys are huge scorers, but you know what I mean. And you still have Jett Howard, Anthony Black, and Tristan da Silva who need to take steps. Also, I think Caleb Housen's another guy who could potentially be traded. You got Goga Bitadze, he's going to be the backup. So it is interesting. I mean, the contracts, again, they're doing a good job financially of like being reasonable with their money, but I do think the biggest question right now is figuring out, okay, who's the future and who's going to be a part of like this core. Again, Paulo, Franz, Jalen Suggs. I'm assuming Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as of right now. Outside of those 4 right there, is we're assuming Jet Howard, Tristan da Silva. Who else would you guys say? Because then, as long as Franz here, I think they're going to keep Mo unless they really can find a great deal. But that's like 6 or 7 dudes. So Wendell Carter, Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, Corey Joseph, Caleb Houston, all guys that could potentially at one point, Jonathan Isaac, and yeah, like all those guys are eventually maybe at one point tradable in their minds. And I think the whole thing is this season, similar to what we were talking about with the Oklahoma City Thunder, if you guys saw that video, is they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And I think the thing with them is they need to figure out. I think they have all the pieces there, and I think Paulo's on his way to becoming a number 1 option. I think their problem is Mr. Franz Wagner a 2. And if he's a 3, that's fine. But if he's a 2, who can they trade for who can be the scorer? Are you going to go out and try to get a Miles Bridges? Is Miles Bridges a 2 in your eyes? Or are you going to go out and find, because that's the whole thing, is that I think they want to pay Jalen Suggs. At the same time, if they don't feel like Jalen Suggs is the guy, they could always pull the plug and go Anthony Black. I'm just fearful that they're looking for their second option, who at this point would have to be a shooting guard, is your assumption. Because like Miles Bridges could play shooting guard. Miles Bridges could fit onto this team. That's the really one of. I just think an Anthony Simons wouldn't help them. But those are the 2 trades that if we're going to try to, Anthony Simons and Miles Bridges, I don't think anybody else really calls my attention that would be a game changer for this team. Do you guys have anybody else, or are you guys in agreement with me that I personally can't fathom a different one? So let's go over here, and I'm also so surprised that this is like this, but okay, so we're gonna do real quickly. I'm just Orlando, but we need Portland and Orlando. If they were, because again, I think the only thing that they could do in the future, recapping again, I think they were just putting their ducks in a row, maintaining money. As I said, it's an Anthony Simons, and I would just think it would have to be Wendell Carter. But at this point, it would have to be a 3-team trade because of what you're sending. You're sending 24. This is the only way I see this deal going through. Yeah, like this. You would do something like this, right? I'd assume at this point, you'd have to find a 3rd team to figure out where Robert Williams is going. And at that, I don't even want to know. But just at the end of the day, money-wise, this can work. And then Anthony Simons would be the point guard. Jalen Suggs would be the shooting guard, because Jalen Suggs is kind of like a Drew Holiday, and he would run at small forward. Franz. I guess power forward would then be Jonathan Isaac. And center would be Paolo Banchero, or you run Paolo Banchero, still a power forward, to Goga Bitadze, Mo Wagner at center. Now, the other trade we said was I don't think they're going Jeremy Grant, but who did we say? I felt like Miles Bridges. So we're going to Charlotte Hornets on this part. So going to the Charlotte Hornets. And again, we didn't put any draft picks, because the whole draft pick conversation would be its own conversation. What's the properly compensation for that player? And that becomes difficult. It's a whole. So trading him to Magic at 27 again, it would be a similar trade. If anything, if this trade again monetarily would work. Actually, yeah, it would work. Let's pull off we got a settings wise, because they're gonna be like, well, recently signed. I think we can do it now. Yeah, there you go. Money wise, it works perfectly. He can be their shooting guard. He would be, you give him another option. One could argue then, oh, if this is the case, then they might want like a guy like Nick Richards back. And I just don't think maybe if they were, because then that would give them Nick Richards, Goga, and Mo Wagner. I feel like this would be then when you would throw in a guy like Caleb Houston in the deal, and he would just do boom, Nick Richards and Miles Bridges, Caleb Houston, Wendell Carter, Cole Anthony. Now, and they already have at that point the Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, and Corey Joseph on the team, so they wouldn't be like pressed for another guard to be on the team. Now, if they were really like, oh, we want another point guard on this team, and at this point, if they were doing something like this, I'd have to assume that you would be moving on from Anthony Black if you're bringing in Vasilije Micic. And don't look at the wins different, because the Hornets are terrible, so any player coming from a playoff team is going to make them significantly better, and vice versa. Anybody going from a terrible team to a good team is going to make the good team technically worse. But you would be like, oh, they're out on Anthony Black, so they take Vasilije, who can be their backup point guard, and then they basically turn Wendell Carter into Nick Richards and Cole Anthony, Miles Bridges. You'd assume at this point you'd have to give up picks, but it's just the idea.